Good morning and welcome to Korea Today, live from Seoul.
On the last leg of her European tour, President Park Geun-hye agreed to push for a science and technology pact with the Belgian Prime Minister and secured investment worth $370 million from 5 companies in the EU. North Korea says it has a South Korean spy agent in their hands. More coming up in the headlines.
And the debate over history textbooks continue on in print.
Treasures by Picasso and some of Korea's most prominent modern and contemporary paintings. I'll be back later with a closer look at just how together these two are.
And the 6-member girl group T-ara is back with their 8th mini-album. Denny Hong sat down with the group to hear about their transition and check out a couple of catchy dance moves. An explosion of colors. The colors of fall foliage is at its peak, and what better time is it to hike a scenic mountain in Seoul while enjoying some healthy, hearty dishes. On Korea Today, Friday, November 8, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good to have you with us on Korea Today. It's the morning after for the test takers of Suneung, or the college entrance exam. I can almost hear a big sigh of relief across the country.
Yep, this is nothing like a big presentation. It's probably more because it does have a lot to do with the future. So good job to everyone that took the exam, but I do understand that there was a lot of difficult questions.
We looked at some of the questions. We said, okay, well, we are glad that we didn't have to take this test. Well, the results will be out on the 27th of this month. So to the test takers out there, do get plenty of rest, and you deserve it. So
have some fun now.
Right.
That's
it's party time for you guys. All right. We'll begin Korea Today on this Friday morning with a check of the stories we're following at this hour. I do have more stories on the CSAT later, but let's start with President Park Geun-hye, who is now in Brussels on the 3rd and final leg of her official trip to Western Europe. Before holding talks with the Belgian Prime Minister, the president met with Korean and Belgian scientists and businessmen to discuss ways to cooperatively realize a creative economy.
유럽은 오래전부터 전 세계 기초과학 발전을 주도해왔고 기초과학의 토대 위에 창업, 벤처기업을 활성화시켜서 글로벌 강소기업으로 발전시켜온 곳입니다.
And during talks with Belgian Prime Minister Elio Di Rupo, the two leaders agreed to expand their bilateral trade volume and investment. Korea was able to attract a total of $370 million in foreign investment from 5 leading European companies, including Belgian chemical firm Solvay. Before wrapping up her 8-day tour, President Park will hold some summit talks with leaders of the European Council and the EU Commission on Friday. North Korea says it has arrested and is investigating an individual who has confessed to being a South Korean spy. Pyongyang's Korean Central News Agency reports the alleged agent had illegally entered North Korea via a third country. Citing the North State Security Department spokesman, the report says this individual had disguised him or herself as a member of a religious group and participated in espionage activities against North Korea in this third country for the past 6 years. The spokesman adds the detainee was aiming to undermine the regime's social system and stability, saying it showcases just how far South Korea's quote-unquote conservative puppet party has gone in terms of carrying out anti-North Korea schemes. It is very rare for Pyongyang's intelligence department to announce such an arrest. Seoul's National Intelligence Service has fully dismissed the report, calling it groundless. The Constitutional Court is getting ready to work on the government's petition to dissolve the leftist minor opposition Unified Progressive Party. Now, upon designating Judge Lee Jung-mi to head the bench of 9 judges the day before, the full bench held its first weekly deliberation session on Thursday. The court had already sent a copy of the Justice Ministry's petition to the UPP and asked the party to submit a written argument. The judges have about 6 months to review the case. Now, meanwhile, Seoul, more than 100 UPP members shaved their heads in front of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea on Thursday, protesting against the petition, saying the government was eroding democracy. The Justice Ministry accuses the UPP of engaging in pro-North Korea activities, shaking the nation's fundamental democratic order. And as mentioned, Thursday was a nerve-wracking day for the more than 650,000 students who sat down to take the College Scholastic Ability Test here in Korea. The test preparation committee said the difficulty level of this year's exam was similar to the mock test in June and September, but quite a lot of students walking out of the test sites seemed to feel otherwise.
I feel very lightheaded and also very regretful. I studied a lot for the math section, but I don't think it paid off.
The test was so difficult. I feel sorry for my mom, who encouraged me and expected more from me because I feel like I have failed her.
Now, the official test results will not be out until the end of this month, November 27th, that is. But experts are advising students to thoroughly calculate their estimated scores and double-check the admission criteria for desired schools in order to increase their chances of getting in.
And good Friday morning, everyone. The Suneung, or the Korean College Entrance Exam, it is done and behind you now. So congratulations from me as well to all of you who sat through and got through that day-long exam. Bright faces of relief also dot our front pages this morning. 동아일보, you can see a pair of mother and daughter duo there hooking arms as the daughter exits the exam site, marking the end to a years-long course of preparation. And just as the Suneung or CSAT affected many families in the nation yesterday, plenty of analysis on the exam also takes place on the front page. The headline reads, Korean Math Type A, what was supposed to be easy was hard. As you heard yesterday, this was the first time that test takers were given a choice in the Korean math and English disciplines, and the lead reads that it would also be the last. The article reports that test takers evaluated this year's CSAT as being more difficult than last year's, and particularly the Type A exams that were expected to be easier, as having that choice was intended to ease the students' study burden, were actually not. And our next newspaper also has a story on the Suneung as well. It's the side story right here, and it highlights that the CSAT's English Math Type B were somewhat difficult, and the article adding that the English Type B was more difficult than the mock test that was taken in September.
It was somewhat difficult. How about we call it extremely difficult?
Somewhat is quite an understatement.
Right. Those questions were we just couldn't translate it because we wanted to share it
Korean
with the
type
viewers.
B.
Right.
Yeah.
It was very, very difficult. So let's move on. Let's not talk about the test ever again.
I'm sure all the test takers
now.
just put it behind them for now
Right.
until next year, if anything.
Yes, let's stay with the happy thoughts now. And actually, we're going to go ahead and move on to other issues on Gyeongyang Shinmun. Its main headline reads, pushing ahead with uniform historical view, ruling party and government say that Korean history through state textbook. Now, in the midst of recent controversies over error-ridden history textbooks, one of which was given particular attention for having some quote-unquote biased elements in it, as you'll remember, Gyeongyang Shinmun is now on alert for what it sees as indicators that the ruling Saenuri Party and the government are preparing to get rid of the current textbook approval process and return to the Yushin-era state textbook created by the Education Ministry, as indicated indicated by the lead there. It cites various statements made by Saenuri Party lawmakers, some spelling it out as the need to create a unified history textbook. It also cites the education minister as saying that the option of creating a state textbook is naturally surfacing to the fore and should be considered by the public as well. But Kyungyang says a state textbook was changed to the current diversified, inspected, and verified format in 2003, following criticisms that the history textbooks were too supportive of the Park Chung-hee government and that few countries opt to use that system anyway because it tends to embellish government legacies and inject specific ideology. So it looks like the conversation on that will continue. 조선일보 will go ahead and take a look at its a quick look at its main headline. It reads, homeowners hold on to 500 trillion won, roughly $470 billion 전세 debt bomb, foreseeing trouble ahead when the bloated 전세 or deposit prices actually go down. 전세 is, of course, Korea's unique deposit-based rental system, and the sub-headline reports that some 45,000 전세 deposits nationwide are approaching 90% of the value of the home, and that in the capital region, that number actually grew by 17 times in just 1 year. We'll go ahead and wrap things up with a look at Mail Business newspaper. We'll go ahead and take a look at this headline here. The headline itself reads that North Korea is set to hand over some 7 mines to China. This in exchange for a highway that will run through these cities that you see here from Kaesong, that will connect Kaesong all the way to Siniju. What you see in the orange dots there are the mines that are said to be possibly going to China in exchange for this construction project. The newspaper actually cites a preliminary business plan between a Chinese state corporation and a Hong Kong-based company. So with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Friday. Next up are your closing numbers from Thursday's market action.
Today is supposed to be the coldest day of the season.
That's right.
After all, yesterday was Ip-dong.
Yeah, so Ip-dong, the tales tell true tales, basically. It just goes straight to the cold. Now, for a check on today's weather and what you can expect throughout the day, we'll go to Lee Dami. Good morning,
Dami.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Seoul City Hall, where the Seoul Book Festival 2013 will be taking place. It did start yesterday and will go on until tomorrow, which is a Saturday. I will be giving you more information on that in just a bit, but first things first, the weather. Minjung, you are correct. Today is the coldest day that we have seen so far this season. Right now here in Seoul, our morning lows are at 4 degrees Celsius. Over in Daegonryong in Gangwon Province, it has dipped down to -4. So all in all, you may want to bundle yourselves up for the morning commutes. Now, we will be seeing clear conditions here in the central regions, but tomorrow we will be receiving nationwide precipitation, so you may want to keep that in mind for any plannings or any schedules that you make over the weekend. Now let's get a check on the weather around the peninsula. Seoul and Gangneung will both have highs at 14, Daejeon at 15, Daegu, Gwangju, and Jeju at 17, while Busan will be the warmest at 19. The rain we'll see over the weekend is expected to clear up by Sunday morning, but it looks like our lows will be dropping quite significantly, bringing signs of cold winter conditions. So you might want to start bringing out your winter coats. That's all for the weather. I'll be back in a few moments.
A Jungwon University student from Denmark studying the Korean language, winning the women's individual competition gold medal at the 2013 World Archery Championships in Turkey, defeating some of the biggest Korean names in archery. Her name is Maja Jager, currently a student once again at Jungwon University, and she joins us in the Korea Today studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you've been in archery since the age of 8, and you just won the gold medal at the Women's Individual Championship at the World Archery Championships. That was in Turkey. Congratulations again. How was the response from back home in Denmark?
Well, it's quite a small sport in Denmark actually, but there's been great coverage from it, so there's been a lot of nice response, good response.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the World Championships, how you got in, and take us through the steps. I mean, how was it for you?
Yeah, well, it was a really good competition. I made a personal record at competition and got qualified as number 8. And then we had the finals, the eliminations. And it was really, really windy, which made it kind of tough. Came out to my advantage, I think, because I handled that pretty well. Just kept on doing strong shots. So yeah, I made it all the way to the final, where I shot against a Chinese girl. Yeah, that was also a really tight match. But I just kept on doing what I had to do and shoot my shots, and it turned out pretty well. So.
Okay. You started at an early age. Well, not really an early age when it comes to getting into a sport, but at the age of 8, how did you begin and how did you enter the world of archery?
Well, I tried it in a local club back in Denmark, and I found it interesting, very fun, so I just kept on doing it. And apparently I was a bit good at it, so yeah, kept training and got on the youth national team and then the Danish national team in 2009. Yeah, and then it just kept on going.
So that was in 2009. When did you, I understand that you've been training here in Korea under some of the archery trainers of Korea. When did that start?
Well, that started in 2008, where I had my first training camp over here in Korea with coach Kim Hyung-tak. And that was through the national team. They had contact with him and cooperated with him on a consult basis.
So my training under Kim Hyung-tak, you've been working with him for several years now. Tell us the experience of training with him.
It's been really nice. He's a really, really good coach. We don't really have that good coaches back in Denmark, so it's helped me a lot to come over here on training camps earlier on, and now training with him on a daily basis really improved my shooting. Also in Denmark we don't have a daily trainer, so it's helped a lot coming over here.
Okay, so what do you think it is that really separates the Korean team from the rest? Because there's a lot of archery teams out there, and Korea has dominated for the past 30 years. And where do you think this domination comes from? What is it? Is it in the training, or is it in a certain personality, or is it, what do you think it is?
I think mainly it's in the system, because it's like a part of their education. Once you're an archery athlete, it's a part of your education, so it's serious from the beginning. It's not like I had like 5 years where I just had fun with archery and maybe got some bad habits. They learn it right from the beginning. So therefore they also train very hard. The archers, the Korean archers, very disciplined, I think. And then they have the Korean coaches that are really good compared to what I have back home. Yeah, and also that they agree on what technique is trained, that they are all in the same direction. In Denmark we can go like all different kinds of directions with the technique.
Okay, so about your future plans, will you be continuing to study here in Korea?
Well, my plan is to get a major at Jungwon University and keep training with Kim Hyung-tak, hopefully all the way to the 2016 Olympics.
Okay, so the Olympics is in your agenda, 2016. Yeah. Any other future plans that we can look forward to?
Well, I hope to do very well the next season as well. I have a goal that's to get to the World Cup final. Yeah, if not next year, then maybe next year again. But.
All right, Maja, it's really good to hear how everything's going so well for you, and we hope to hear from you a bit more later on in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And still
ahead, T-ara returns from their long hiatus with their 8th mini-album and is leading the charts with their 2 title songs, Number 9 and I Know the Feeling. Danny Hong had a chance to meet with the 6-piece girl group and learn a few moves, so stay tuned. I'm looking forward to those moves as well.
It's pretty simple. I've got a heads up on it.
All right. Well, the weekend is here almost, and there's an exhibition that you might want to check out. It displays the largest collection of Picasso's artworks, and you might be able to catch some of his hidden gems as well. And our reporter Im Yoon-hee was there. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think it's safe to assume we all agree Picasso is one of the largest names in art. Many people know him for his paintings, but what many people don't know is that he also created quite an expansive collection of ceramics and pottery. He spent a good part of his career working with ceramics, and some of those very exclusive pieces are on display at the Seoul Art Center. Let's take a look at that in a little bit, but before that I was also able to visit the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art, where they're currently showcasing 100 pieces by Korean modern and contemporary painters. Now it's interesting, you can see some of Picasso's influence, but you can also see quite a bit of Korea's history there as well. So let's take a look.
Pablo Picasso, a name that speaks for itself. Known for his contributions to the birth of the Cubism movement, Picasso is arguably one of the most influential artists to have come from the modern art era. Picasso is most famous for his revolutionary and often controversial painted masterpieces. But what many people don't know is that towards the latter part of his career, Picasso fell in love with a totally different form of art, pottery, resulting in the creation of over 633 pieces, including the pieces found at this exhibit.
Picasso didn't start with pottery until his 60s, when he found the Madura Pottery Studio at a pottery exhibition in Belarus. He fell so in love with ceramics and pottery, he began creating many pieces, including this piece titled Found. The shape is modeled after a woman's body, showing Picasso's sense of humor.
The Seoul Art Center is currently hosting the world's largest Picasso exhibition, displaying over 300 Picasso pieces from the official Picasso Foundation in Spain. This is the first time they are being shown in Asia, and amongst the pieces are works showing Picasso's Cubism, along with various illustrations and sketches from Picasso's career.
Picasso is considered by many as the father of modern art. There is virtually no artist who has not in one way or another been touched by his work. That's because Picasso was capable of anything when it came to art.
Picasso's artistic creations reached across the global art community, including Korea's own modern art movement. The National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art of Korea is currently showcasing masterpieces of modern Korean painting. Evidence of Picasso's influence can be found throughout the gallery, but you'll also see that many Korean artists still held on to their roots, despite the war-torn condition of Korea at that time.
There are 100 paintings by Korean artists on display here. They were not randomly selected, but instead chosen from the time period 1920 to 1970 because they display beauty in both Korean and Western style painting. Each piece was chosen because it represents a flower within Korea's modern art and helped lead the way to Korea's contemporary art movement.
Korea has an art culture that has been passed down for thousands of years. Although Western art brought movements such as realism and cubism to Korean painting, many artists held on to their traditions, including painting with the Korean traditional paintbrush. The result is a fusion work of art.
When you look at this rhythm of music painting, you can see the musician's profile laid over his frontal view, creating multiple dimensions within the piece. But the artist paints the traditional Korean scene from a palace, maintaining Korean style.
Many of the paintings here were created in the midst of turmoil, and the struggles and pains of the people from the war-torn country can be found within the brushstrokes on the canvas. These paintings were done by legendary artist Lee Jung-sup. As an artist during a very difficult time, Lee Jung-sup was a refugee of war who often found himself with no art supplies. Yet he still managed to paint beautiful works of art that have forever impacted Korea's modern art movement.
This cow looks like it's in pain, crying, and is contrasted against a very unique and powerful red-colored background that is reminiscent of a setting sun. This lone cow represents the artist and the emotions he felt living through a very troubled time.
The modern art movement may have ended, but modern art still remains an important piece of Korea's art culture. And as contemporary art takes the stage, Korea's art culture will both progress while honoring some of its most reputable artists.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I mean, they have some of Lee Jung-sup's artwork, and he's known to have somewhat of a tragic life story, right? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he was born in North Korea and then moved to Japan to study or do some of his artwork.
So the bull paintings we saw a little bit earlier, they're works by Lee Jung-sup, and he was actually a refugee of the Korean War, and while he was a refugee, he lived in Seogwipo with his wife and 2 kids, but he had to send them away because of the hardships, and he lived alone in solitude for 5 years. And during that time, he created some of his most famous pieces, including the bull, which you guys saw, which really conveyed the struggles that he had to endure. Now, he was very poor during his lifetime. At one point, he didn't even have money for supplies. So he actually used a nail to create work on the little silver paper that you find in cigarette boxes. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to overcome a lot of his tragedies in life.
Well, I understand that the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art sometimes likes to put a certain twist to things, and they actually divided this gallery into 4 different categories. Tell us about that.
Yes, so it's broken up into 4 different time periods, and you can definitely see the stylistic tendencies within each category. Now, the earlier time period works show a lot of strong emotions because that overlapped with the Japanese occupation and the Korean War. Now, during that time, art really took a back seat because of the turmoil in the country, and one of the biggest burdens on the art community was finances and the lack of funding. And as a result, the artists weren't able to sort of explore their creative outlets. And so the Korean art culture was handicapped during that time. But in 1922, the Chosun Art Exhibit was established, and as a result, the art culture stayed afloat, but it wasn't until 1949 that the Korean Grand Art Exhibit was created, and that really encouraged artists to re-pursue their art careers. So if you guys get a chance this weekend, it's a very interesting and very touching place to go and check out a lot of Korea's work.
A nice way to spend the fall season, going to a museum and checking out some art. Thank you very much, Uni.
My pleasure.
하지만 나는 왜 그런지 모두가 어려워 답장을 원해 Wait a minute 흉덩이가 랩을 한다 싫은 말은 아가씨
The first YouTube Music Awards took place on Sunday in Manhattan, New York, and was streamed live through YouTube. And Girls' Generation of Korea took home a very big award at this inaugural bash. Joining us is Danny Hong.
Good morning.
Good morning.
That's right. So, of course, it is kind of big news now, and it's come a long way. So, YouTube, the very first inaugural YouTube Music Awards did just happen. And Girls' Generation did win for the best Video of the Year award in that category for their song I Got a Boy. Now, this was held and announced on Monday, Korea time at New York's Pier 36. The girl group beat the likes of Miley Cyrus, Lady Gaga, and many other global top stars. The first one of its kind for online platforms, and it is meaningful in the sense that it's a good representation of just how competitive Korean artists have become in the global music industry. A lot of global media outlets, including CNN, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Reuters, BBC ABC and Le Parisien, they covered the story, showing a lot of interest in the K-pop idol group.
So basically, all the news media outlets.
They were all there, right?
Because they beat Miley Cyrus. I mean, she made it really big on that twerking thing, right? Everyone was talking about that. But Lady Gaga, some of the biggest names, and Girls' Generation came out on top.
Yeah, well, it definitely was about viewership, and of course, the video was based on who gets nominated according to how many hits on YouTube for certain videos, and definitely there is a stronger presence there too. And also, Rain won.
Right?
It's kind of interesting because he has not been performing on stage since he left his military service earlier this year, but he did win for the Asia Entertainer Award at 2013's Bazaar's Men's Style of the Year Awards. Now, this one also was held in Beijing last Saturday, and many see this as a sign that his popularity as a singer and entertainer across Asia is still very strong, despite, again, once the fact that he has not been performing for most of this year.
Stay low, lay low, right?
Maybe he's working on a big project.
Maybe. We'll look forward to that. But it's all well and good, Rain. But we want to talk about your interview with T-ara and the dance moves that you picked up.
And look at the smile on his face.
Give us a preview of the dance move that you learned.
There's a 5 and a 4, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
but I did get to interview with T-ara recently, actually, and we were talking with them about their future plans and their goals as well, too. So let's take a look.
보람, 규리, 은정, 소연, 효민, and 지연. These are the 6 stars of T-ara firing up the music scene. The members who have been busy with unit albums in Japan and the US are back with their 8th mini album.
Can you please say hello to our Korea Today listeners?
안녕하세요, T-ara입니다.
Considering their rather long hiatus, the girl group returns with 2 title songs, Number 9 and I Know the Feeling, much to the excitement of their fans. And of them, Number 9 is their secret weapon, offering a unique marriage between a strong, fast beat and heartbreaking lyrics. The attention the group has received following their comeback makes their 1-year break almost unnoticeable.
Can you please tell us what kind of concept were you going for with this release?
두 곡은 사실 좀 상반된 곡이에요. 가사는 뭐 서정적이고 슬프고 그런 이별이나 뭐 사랑에 아파하는 여자의 가사는 마찬가지지만 넘버 9은 댄스곡이고요. 또 느낌하니까는 미디움 템포의 발라드 곡입니다.
Their many hit songs, Bo Peep, Bo Peep, Lovey Dovey, and Roly Poly, with their addictive tunes and smart dance moves, have put T-ara in the spotlight with each album. Sometimes with their sweetness, and other times with their more matured choreography. Their main dance steps are always full of flavor, and this time is no exception.
Now, for each album, you come out with memorable dance moves as well. So can you please explain us a little about the dance moves in your song Number 9?
구를 표현하는 댄스가 있어요. 손가락으로 이렇게 저희 멤버들처럼 손가락으로 구를 표현하는 포인트가 있어요. 네가 필요해 넘버 9, 넘버 9, 넘버 9. 네, 이렇게 9을 표현하는 손 동작이 있어요.
Since T-ara debuted in 2009, they had climbed the ranks with continued support and love from their fans. But with controversies about conflicts within the team, breakaways, and new members joining, the group was faced with its longest break since entering the music scene. Another reason why this new album is even more special to the group members.
저희가 데뷔했을 때 멤버로 이번에 컴백을 하게 됐는데요. 저희 음악을 기다려주시고 저희 T-ara를 사랑해주셨던 분들께 다시 한번 저희 음악을 들려드리자라는 취지에서 나왔고요.
Thanks to their extraordinary efforts, the girl group won over the hearts of music fans and was recently able to top the music charts. The members of the 6-piece girl group are well known not only for their singing but acting as well, with many taking on all kinds of fields in the entertainment industry.
저희 멤버 중에는 효민이가 또 일본에서 영화를 찍었는데요. 곧 개봉할 예정이에요. 효민이가 좀 소개해주세요.
네, 여러분 징크스라는 영화고요. 11월 16일 날 일본에서 먼저 개봉하는데 네, 많이 지켜봐 주시고 꼭 한번 봐주세요.
Last but not least, could you please also say a few words to our viewers on Korea Today?
코리아 투데이 시청자 여러분, 저희 T-ara 넘버 9으로 활동하고 있는데요. 앞으로도 계속해서 노래 많이 사랑해 주시고요. 또 저희 T-ara 또 찾아뵙도록 하겠습니다. 지금까지 T-ara였습니다.
So cute.
Oh, you have such a big smile on your face.
Well, they are lovely ladies.
Well, they have catchy tunes and catchy dance moves as well.
Yeah, speaking of dance moves, there's always a signature or a trademark dance move with every song. Every
I know you want to do it. Just do it.
I didn't see it, but it involves something like this, right?
It's kind of partly voguing and yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is like a complete excuse to get your nails done, right? It's like, hey, my manager, I need you to pay for my nails. Well, there's a story behind every move. So tell us the story behind this one.
Well, in this one, of course, they did more. It's called hand styling. Well, at least that's how I know it from
hand styling.
From dancing, there's hand styling. There's
You're
ways.
pretty good.
That's more from the Latin dancing world. But basically, when you come to hand styling, in this dance particularly, mainly from necessity actually, because one of the members, Jiyeon, she actually had a problem with synovitis, which is actually a problem with your joints, some of the ligaments in your joints. And so this is from all the extensive dance practices that they have been doing. And so in order to kind of give her a little bit of a break from her joint pain, they focus the dance more on hand styling, right? So that's why it is more heavy with just the fingers and the flair. But also it kind of might create a trend actually with people deciding to be more flashy with their accessories on their hands. Of course, earrings, necklaces, sure, but what about multi-layer rings and stuff like that?
Exactly.
So,
I mean,
you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, their dance moves accentuate their fingers a lot, so they must have had to take good care of their hands.
Yeah, get your cuticles, all your hangnails out. Mine are a little bit, I'm ashamed, right? Actually, taking care of my nails. But yeah, so of course they are going to be kind of pushing their next singles coming up soon as well too, as well as they do have their entertainment career to think about too, some movies coming up, as well as other more variety show gigs that they're probably going to do as well.
Okay, well, it seems that a lot of these Korean pop stars here these days, they not only do activities here, but a lot of their activities are overseas. So I guess we'll be hearing more from them on in the future.
Yep, and you never know. Maybe next year's YouTube Music Video Awards, maybe they'll be up there too.
There you go.
You never know.
All right, well, thank you, Danny, for that story.
No problem.
All right, let's now go over to our Dami, who is standing by at a book festival. I wonder what she's up to.
All right, what a perfect time, because autumn is the perfect time to pick up a book and read. Tommy, over to you.
I'm back reporting live from Seoul Plaza, where the 6th Seoul Book Festival 2013 is taking place. Now, this year, the theme in Korean is 공유, 공부, 공감, which translates to share, study, and sympathize. Now, this festival is quite large, so we'll be divided into 3 main sections. Each has a title. They are We Make the Festival, We Love Libraries, and We Read Books. They will also be divided into 3 different locations. One is here at the Seoul Plaza, the other is at the old City Hall building, which was renovated into the Seoul Library, and the Seoul Citizens Hall. Now, the Seoul Book Festival is held every year. It started out in the year 2008 to commemorate October 11th, which is Book Day here in Korea, and of course to encourage people to read more. Now, there's one program in the festival that is quite eye-catching. It will start later tonight at 9 p.m. and will go on until tomorrow at 8 a.m. and it's titled The Night Library. Now, scheduled in the program are literature concerts, readings, speeches, and a late-night cafeteria, so it's definitely something that I would love to check out. Now, of course, there are many other programs, such as the Human Library, where you can freely discuss and talk with one another, the book concert, where there will be a variety of culture performances, Q&A sessions, where you can meet with the author of the book, and also for young readers, there is a program where you can read a book with your dad. And for those of you who have books that you don't read any longer, you may donate them as well. So basically, there's a lot of different programs. And another one that I want to mention is the book vending machine, which is a person is inside the vending machine and it will hand you books from the inside. Now, later at 1 p.m., there will also be a whole program where anyone can participate in the open reading. So this is an opportunity where you can read different genres from poems to novels and much more. Also tomorrow, which is a Saturday, Seoul Mayor Park Won-soon will be participating by reading books to young readers and will also take part in the closing ceremony. Now, just like Young mentioned, fall is really a great time of the year to read a book, even outdoors with the fall foliage. So why not come by the Seoul Book Festival 2013? I'm Idami, Korea Today.
Still ahead on Korea Today, Korea is rich with fall colors across its many mountains. In perfect time for this, Chef Matthew Chung goes on a hike to some scenic trails to enjoy the view and show us some of the best dishes that include fresh vegetables, acorns, and duck.
Well, speaking of T-ara and number 9, her jersey number is also number 9. Of course, we're talking about Park Eun-sun as we kick things off with the ongoing controversy in the WK League regarding Seoul City Hall's Park Eun-sun. Now, as promised, the team did hold a press conference on Thursday and opened up regarding the issue. And of course, after the press conference, one of the 6 managers who threatened to boycott the season, Suwon FMC head coach Lee Sung-gyun, apologized for his remarks regarding Park Eun-sun, and he resigned from his position effective immediately. However, despite all this, the team plans to file a human rights violation lawsuit on those involved in the incident. Now check this out. Shockingly, the 6 managers added that this was all supposed to be a joke amongst each other privately, angering more fans who've been following this incident very closely. And now on a brighter note, Ryu Hyun-jin, who's back in Korea, began his busy off-season schedule with a friendly game of baseball against a celebrity baseball team on Thursday night. Now, Ryu's team, HJ99, which consists of some of his closest people, took on Joma, a famous celebrity baseball team here in Korea, with the lefty hitting cleanup and playing first base. However, with his older brother, Ryu Hyun-soo, struggling as the starting pitcher, giving up 6 runs in the first inning, Ryu Hyun-jin comes into relief and pitches 3 2/3 innings, striking out 4 and giving up no runs. Now, he would also add a triple in the game as HJ99 beat Joma 15-13. And shifting over to the South Korean national football team, who's set to face off against Switzerland later this month. However, with the cold winter coming up ahead, they're planning to go overseas to train starting January. With Hong Myung-bo and crew preparing for the upcoming Brazil World Cup, it was reported that Korea will be facing off against Mexico on January 30th at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. However, with Mexico's World Cup qualification still uncertain, nothing is set yet, despite ads of ticket sales already going out in Texas. And now moving on to some Thursday night KBL action, as we had 2 games take place last night. Now, the ever-struggling Seoul Samsung Thunders were able to pull off a win against the Goyang Orions 69-64, thanks to Michael Dunnigan's 16 points and 12 rebounds. So with that said, let's take a look at the other game that took place last night. Anyang KGC, who by the way is also struggling, taking on the Seoul SK Knights. Of course, going into the game here, SK off to a great start thanks to Aaron Haynes, who puts up 8 points in the first quarter as SK takes a commanding 24-17 lead after the first quarter before heading into halftime with a 36-26 lead. In the third quarter of the game, Yang Hee-jung goes absolutely insane from the field, scoring 13 points as KGC cuts the deficit to 48-47 going into the fourth quarter. The KGC starts cooling down when it matters as Choi Boo-kyung leads the way for SK in the fourth as the SK Knights hang on to take this game 64-59. And now finishing things off with Thursday night's V-League action as IBK beat Hyundai Hillstate 3-1 over on the women's side thanks to Karina Ocasio's 25-point game. So with that said, let's shift over to the men's side as Hyundai Capital Skywalkers, who by the way are the favorites to win it this year, took on KEPCO Vicstorm. Of course, going into the game here, Hyundai looking great in this game, take the first two sets, 25-22 and 25-23, before KEPCO takes the third set, 26-24. But Liberman Agamez putting up 30 attack points on the night. Hyundai storms past KEPCO in the fourth set, 25-23, as Hyundai remains undefeated to start off the season. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
We just saw some images of the Bukhan mountain, and hiking is really a popular pastime here in Korea. And I used to think it's because of the beautiful scenery that you get to enjoy in the mountain, but it's actually, I'm starting to think it's the food
It is
on the
the
way
food.
to and from the summit that you get to enjoy that it's so popular hiking.
Exactly. And there is the go-to foods that we have when we do go hiking, but hiking also not only offers the food as well as exercise, but also life's philosophy, some say, going up and coming back down. Now, if you look to the Gangbuk area or the northern part of Seoul, then you'll see a picturesque landscape there. Matthew Chung has a report from there. We'll go check this out.
It is officially autumn in Korea, and that means the leaves have turned this beautiful color. The air, it's crisp and it's cool, and there's no better way to celebrate all this autumnness around us, and there's no place to enjoy autumn in the fall than up a mountain. What's a hike without a little bit of a picnic? Now, we have cucumbers will actually keep you hydrated better than water can. And it's because it's full of not just water, but all the other minerals that are required to keep you hydrated. So it's, think of it as nature's sports drink. And then chocolate, come on, you gotta have something sweet. But in all seriousness though, having that blood sugar drop is no fun. So keep that blood sugar up. Which is a type of acorn jelly. We consider it part of the hiking experience. It's indispensable. It's what you do. You go out to the mountains, and then afterwards, or maybe even on the mountain, you stop and get some totorimuk. Now, like I said before, they make all of their totorimuk here. They grind all the acorns themselves, which is incredibly laborious, but you can taste it in its final product. Now, here we have totorimuk muchim, which is almost more like a salad, especially with all the different greens in there. You have a little bit of chicory, you have what's known as sukkat. It's a really common Korean herb. It's got a great sort of fresh bite to it. It's fantastic. And then here we have totorimuk chebap. I'm literally drooling as I'm speaking right now, so I'm just gonna start eating. Oh man, oh, this looks good. Especially when you get the flavors of the kimchi and the sesame in there. Forgot about it. After a day of hiking, nothing else really hits the spot quite like this. So say you're out in the mountains and you want something that's really healthy, but at the same time, rib sticking and satisfying. Well, I found just the place. Let's go. So this bubbling cauldron of stew in front of me right now, this is what's known as ori baeksuk. Now, baeksuk is a type of stew or soup, usually involving some sort of poultry, chicken, or in this case, duck. And it's also includes 7 different types of traditional types of Korean medicine. What's most important is just how it smells. It smells incredible, especially with those mushrooms and the duck in there. It smells like fall. Let's taste this dish right now. Let's get some of this rice. Yeah. Just take a look at this guy. This has that. It's warming, yet you eat it and you can tell that it's doing something to you and it's doing something that's good. This is the perfect dish for a crisp autumn evening. And every meal in Korea has to end with 식사. And when you're hiking, 식사, that means 한채 비빔밥. We'll put some rice right in there, mix it all up, and put it in our bellies. The best part about bibimbap is how every bite is just a little bit different. You get a little bit of this, and you get a little bit of that. I'm happy.
And now I'm hungry.
Good, right?
Now I'm very hungry.
The 능이 오리 백숙, the duck soup we saw in the video, in the report, it was not the most appetizing looking dish. It's a bit dark, but apparently the mushroom in that dish is just as nutritious as the duck.
That's right. It also has a
just
synergy.
as much protein, right?
Yeah, exactly. It has a synergy effect, helping break down the protein that the duck provides. So, you know, it's a scientific food.
And then Matthew ate it like it was the most delicious food on earth. I mean, and then also I thought having chocolate while on hiking was totally defying the purpose of going on a hike, but I guess that I was wrong on
Well,
that
I guess
one.
if you're going to burn off the
fun
calories
to
and
it,
sugar,
too,
right?
though, right.
All right, sounds great. Thank you, Matthew, for that.
Well,
and
the
now,
weekend is just around the corner.
Yep, perfect time to go hiking as
Right.
well and enjoy those foods. We'll get a check on the weekend weather forecast with Dami. Once again, Dami.
Yes, I would love a bite of that warm, delicious meal right now because it is definitely cold outside here in Seoul. It is 4 degrees Celsius this morning. Make sure to bundle yourselves up. We will be seeing clear conditions today, but as the day progresses, there will be an increase of clouds that will lead to rain over the weekend. Now, we are expecting showers nationwide around the latter half of Saturday, and then on Sunday, it looks like rain conditions will clear up around morning time. So overall, when you make plans for the weekend, do keep that in mind. That's all I have for your weather updates. I'm Midami, Korea Today. Have a wonderful weekend.
Wonderful weekend, and I am excited because I will be taking my much-deserved, I think, 2 weeks off.
That's right.
You guys will be missing me.
Do watch us from overseas, though.
Yes, I will.
All right, well, good job all those years. Well, have a great vacation.
Now I feel like
Make
I'm
sure
in my
to
50s.
come back to us.
Have a great time.
Okay.
Yes, I'll be back in 2 weeks.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
That's right. We'll see you back here on Monday morning at 7 a.m. Have a great
Without
weekend.
Hyungyang, though.
Without Hyungyang, Hwang Jie of Arirang News will be joining us. Duck, anyone?
Duck? Now? Sure.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.